you guys out to see if you guys had anything that you wanted to cover specifically, or questions or issues or whatever, and get any responses. So I decided, well, I'll just go over what I want to go over. And some of this may be repetitive for you guys, may seem simple, whatever, but we're going to go over a few things, because really this came about because Ashley and Renee and I were talking about, how everybody does their loops. There's different ways. Everybody has their own kind of method of creating loops and organizing loops, and we really want everybody to kind of maybe not do it exactly like we do it, but it will help with reviewing files if we're not looking through one folder with 18 versions of a contract and those kind of things. So it'll just help you, kind of stay organized. And some of the things we're going to do, they're just some little videos that are on the Dotl0op Help Center, which you can find a video on pretty much anything you want to know about Dotl0op. Obviously, we're not going to cover it all. We're just going to hit some high points on some things. And I'm going to give you guys some best practices for creating your loops, organizing them, submitting them, that kind of thing. But I do want it to be interactive, so at any point if somebody has a question or something comes up that you've had an issue with, ask me. I may or may not be able to answer it, but we'll go through it together. Some of the videos are embedded in the PowerPoint, some are not, so I'll have to kind of get out of the PowerPoint to get to them, but we'll go ahead and get started. Let's see. So these are just a few of the things we're going to go over. Again, some of these things may seem super easy for you guys, may seem like second nature, but you'd be surprised, and I think we have kind of all levels in here in this room. Some people that have never used Dotl0op, Jace, some people that, are really good at it, admins, that kind of thing, and then everything in between. So this first one is a video on your account settings. If you've never gone into your account settings and set it up properly, you should do that. You should take the time to do that. I'm sure most of you have. You've uploaded a photo, that kind of thing. Put in your address, your phone numbers, your email, because all that translates into your signatures when you send out documents for signing. So just a quick little video on that.
Once you're logged into your Dotl0op account, you'll navigate all the way to the top right, and in that drop-down, you'll click on your My Account section. This is where you can fill out all of your personal information, including your name, phone number, e-sign name, e-sign initials, your tagline, and if we scroll all the way down to the bottom, this is also where you will fill in your time zone, which keeps your activity log straight, and it'll date and timestamp all of your e-signatures correctly. Once everything's filled out, you'll just come right down here and click Save. Scrolling back up and going over to the left, there's also more information to fill out in profiles. This information is more about your brokerage and your office, but still super handy to fill out, so that will autofill into your documents, just like your personal information. There is also a save at the bottom right. Now, while you're setting up your Dotl0op account, go ahead and get on your iPhone or your Android device and make sure you download the mobile app so you can work on the go.
Okay, so, and I don't know if any of you have ever noticed, if you have never gone in and filled out your information, your address, your phone numbers, that kind of thing, it won't populate the documents for you and you're having to go in and manually do it every time, that's why. So, taking the time to, handle that step is important.
Do you know our license number?
Mm-hmm. Our office license number is 76875. And I believe if you put all that information in there, how when you go to your purchase agreement, you get to that section where you've got to fill in all the brokerage information, address, and all that should populate for you if you filled it out correctly in your settings.
What was that number again? 76?
76875 is the license number. And go ahead and put your license number in too, so that you don't have to type that in every time. So just certain little things that, I'm assuming that most of you have done that, but you find, you'd be surprised, some people probably haven't and just never taken the time to do that, so. Another, I know I sent this link out, but, our template libraries, you can access the Baldwin Realtors template library, you can access the Alabama Association of Realtors template library if you go in and select those associations in your settings. So just a quick overview on that.
Your association, if in agreement with Dotl0op, will give you access to interactive templates specific to your association. To attach your Dotl0op account to your association, you'll navigate up to the top right and go to your My Account section. Once in your My Account section, head over and click on Profiles. Scrolling down to the middle of the page, there will be a section called Brokerage and Associations. To search for your association, just click Add Association. In this video, I'm just going to use the Florida Association of Realtors as an example and start typing that in. I can see here there's plenty of options, but I want to make sure I check off the one with the green check mark. That means that it's verified by Dotl0op. And click Add. Florida is an association that requires my NRDS ID to be able to add the templates to my account. There are other associations that require an invitation code, and sometimes you'll just have to give our support team a call to add the association to your account. The benefit of adding your association to your account is having their templates to use. So I can click on my Cincinnati Area Board of Realtors, and I can see all the templates that they've provided. If you have any trouble adding your association or have any questions, feel free to give our support team a call. And that number will always be at the bottom of your Dotl0op account, 1-888-Dotl0op.
So one thing to know, use Florida as an example, because I know we've got a lot of Florida agents in the room. The problem with that is if Florida is not your primary association and you've already added your NRDS number in for Baldwin, it will not allow you to get into those templates. So that's why we have had to try to do a workaround for all these years and have the Google Drive for the forms for Florida agents. It's a pain in the butt, but
It's funny, they ask you for your,
it's just because that NAR does not recognize Florida as your primary
okay.
Association. There are a couple of agents, I think, that where Florida is their primary, and they may be able to access those Florida ones.
Yeah.
But for the most part, everybody uses Baldwin for primary, so that kind of stinks. But anyway. So next, I just wanted to, I know you guys probably already know this, your template library, we've got tons of different folders. The master folder here, that's where everything is saved, every form that the office uses, and then we've broken them down into different shortcut folders that have way less documents that you have to try to search for. We put the Baldwin agency forms in there for 2024. We've got the AAR forms for 2024, and the Florida compensation forms in there as well. And then always know too that we've got these quick buyer offer for residential and land and lots that just include the purchase agreement and a couple of other forms. And then there's also ones for the listings as well. So just know that those are there. You don't have to go into the master folder and try to sift through and search for all those documents. Clauses. I don't know how many of you guys use the clause manager, but we have a ton of pre-typed out clauses available. You just go to the template library, scroll down to the clauses section, and you'll see a whole list of clauses. Now you, within your own Dotl0op, can also create your own clauses that you may use for you or your team. the whole office won't be able to see those, they'll just show up under your account, so. And we try to update those periodically, like I said, there's a lot of, I mean, there's probably 50 of them in there, but you just go into your documents, and I can show you how to do that later, if you don't know. Quick video on that, just want to show you, actually this is, to get out of here. Quick video on clause manager.
In this video, we're going to talk about how to add clauses to the clause manager and then how to use them in a template.
No, this is not huge, but it's big as I can get it.
Page where I can see all of my transactions, and to get to my clause manager, I'm going to come up here to the top right and click on templates. Once I'm in my templates, I'm going to scroll down past my documents and my tasks and find clauses here. And you can see here I already have some clauses within my clause manager. A clause is something you find yourself typing all of the time, or maybe you're copying and pasting it into your interactive documents from an outside source. But within Dotl0op, you can add as many clauses as you want to, and then those clauses will be ready to use when you're in an interactive document. So to add a new clause, you'll just click right here, and go ahead and type your clause out. Or maybe you're copying and pasting from another source. And then once you have it typed in here, click add, and you can scroll through and see the clauses that you have available to you. Each clause has 3 dots out to the right that allow you to edit the clause or go ahead and delete that clause. So now that you know how to add and manage your own clauses, let's open up a document and see how we can use them. I'm going to go to my Loop's homepage. We'll open up a loop and then find a document that we can add a clause to. So let's open up Smith Drive. And within Smith Drive, I have an addendum. And we can just click and open up that addendum. So the first step to adding a clause is to click within a text box, just like you were getting ready to type. And you can start typing the clause you have in mind. So if I just type the, that matches up with, it looks like 5 of my clauses. And I can grab this backup contract clause and add it to that text box. If it looks like I have a spelling error, I can fix that. If it's actually not section 8R in the contract we're referring to, I can change it to 8T if that's correct. You're not stuck with the text that's within the clause. Another way to add a clause to a document is to click on a text box, and then here on your document editor toolbar, there will be this icon that has 2 squares stacked on top of each other. And that will show you all of the clauses that are in your clause library, instead of you having to start typing. And instead, we're going to grab this first clause and add that into the text box there. And I can also use these smaller text boxes. And if you put an underscore, you can backspace that out and put in the number of days, hours. Now this addendum was an interactive document that I pulled from my templates, but as long as the document has a text box on it, whether it's interactive and already there, or you need to come to this add drop down and add a text box to a PDF, you will be able to add a clause to it.
Does anybody use those? I mean, did you know it was there?
I do occasionally. I have a question. If I add on my Dotl0op, if I add a clause that I've used that I went to, does everyone have access to that, or is that's only mine? Okay.
It'll only show to you. If it's something, if anybody has a clause that, you know, you want added or something like that, feel free to send it to me and I can.
I was just curious.
Yeah, no.
So I can go on and just personalize mine.
Yeah, you can personalize your own, so.
I didn't know that was there, and I would just go in and type in some of the words of the clause I'm trying to create and look for it when they come
Gotcha.
up.
But yeah, sometimes clicking on that little icon helps too, if you don't wanna have to start typing in words, but, it's, you know, it's handy for sure. Task lists. How many of you guys use the task lists that are in Dotl0op for your transactions? Did you know that they were even there?
Yeah.
Yes, so you're looking at it.
Some.
Yeah, occasionally.
I mean, those of us like here, I mean, like we have you have admin on your team that kind of handle that, but I mean, it comes in handy, especially for you single agents that don't have help, to be able to include a task list in your loop. If you have a new listing, you can add a new listing task list that you can go in and set due dates and, you know, reminders about things that you need to do when you get a new listing. When you get a contract and you go and, you know, go pending, there are checklists for the selling side and the listing side for that. So they come in handy. There's also some document checklists. What documents do you need in order before you submit for review for a listing, that kind of thing. So,
And I like it sends you an email.
it does. Now you have to take the time because they're set up with just kind of an open-ended date. So it's relying on you to go in and set a time frame. So I use them for our pending contracts because that's my job on the team is to take the contract from pending to closed. So I have a checklist. I have to go in and it tells me it kind of mirrors the purchase agreement. So it goes through the appraisal contingency, inspection contingency. You can set your due dates for those and not have to go back and look at your contract every time you want to know when your contingency's up. And you can set reminders. It'll send you an email in the morning if you've got something that you need to do that day. Very handy. Again,
Does it do, like where you could send that to the other side, letting them know when the contingency removal dates are?
I don't know that you can share a task list with anybody outside of yourself. Now you can, let me take that back, we'll have to go in and look. I think you can assign tasks to different people that are within the loop to complete. But I don't know if you can like share the entire task list with them. But
No, I mean, if you've got a co-broker going and the other agent, you know, it's your listing and you're keeping an eye on the contingency removal dates, you could share that with them, so let them know that here's your dates.
I need to look and see if you can actually assign a task to someone else but I don't know if you can actually share the list or the.
I mean, if they will pop off the loop.
Yes, potentially. I'll have to go in and look at that and see if you can do that with someone outside of the company. But I don't know why you couldn't, because I've just never done that. But that's a good idea. So let's see.
You can save time by creating your own task templates to use throughout your transactions. Navigate to your global template section by clicking on this icon. Scroll down past your documents and click on tasks. Now I already have a few task templates built out, just as an example. So I have a task template for new listing activities, and you can see all of the tasks I have listed here. A client move plan, you can add hyperlinks to your tasks, a pre-offer checklist, steps for loan pre-approval, and new offer activities. So think of a way that you would like to have a task list and then come into your templates and just create it. To do that, click on Add a Task List, and then go ahead and name your task list. Maybe I want to create a new listing activities for this year. There are some new requirements. That takes me to an empty task list where I can go through and I can add my tasks. And I'll click enter to get to the new task. Now, I don't have to click save, it's already there for me. And when I go to create a loop, I'll go into this listing loop here. I can scroll down to my task section and click load template and add in my listing activities checklist. It'll add in all the tasks for me so I can assign my tasks to different people and also assign due dates.
So yeah, I think Stephen, what you said, and I'm gonna look into that, but I think you can go in and assign a task list to someone else, so, you know. I use these for our pendings, like I said, it comes in handy for me.
You do it for all your pendings, don't you?
And when you go into your loops right now, you should be able to see some shared template, task lists. Are you in Dotl0op now?
Yeah, so I was trying to figure out how you add it to your thing. I clicked on templates and,
Well, you gotta be in a loop to add it to your loop. You have to have.
yeah, I'm in my loop.
Yeah,
So I go
you
down,
just gotta scroll all the way to the bottom.
so I'm just seeing worksheets and interactive docs.
But you're not in a loop, are you?
Uh-huh.
Oh.
If you're in the loop at the top, it says documents and then tasks. Do you have?
No,
Are you in a loop, Christine? So scroll down.
like I click on templates
So
and go
you're in
down.
the, yeah, click on add task list like you just did.
From that one?
Well,
Yeah.
on here. and the
Yeah, so you can
files,
see 'em.
it'll continue
So
by-
yeah, I'll show you guys
Tabs.
how to do that real quick. Let me get out of this, sheet. Now, it also depends, it's different depending on whether you're using the traditional Dotl0op or if you're using the 2.0 beta, because it works a little bit differently. Christine was just in the, so let me just get out of here real quick and see. So, just click on one really quick. So if you're in a loop, see, I'm in the 2.0 version. Are you in the traditional version, Shelley?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's gonna look a little bit different, and I can show you how to do that. But if you just go, if you're in your loop,
Oh, so look.
and you go to tasks, and you click on add task list, you have two options, add from templates or create your own. And if you click on here, you'll see these that have already been created by the office,
It's hard.
and you can just check, you can check more than one even, so, and then it'll, let me just pick one really quick.
Okay, this is cool.
You can switch back and forth just until.
I just clicked betas on, I had no idea. I've been under a rock apparently, but this is cool.
Yeah. So now it's populated in here, and you can see here, you've still gotta go in and assign dates, because it's a template, so it doesn't know when what your contract dates are, so you've got to tell it
I like
that information, or it's not gonna work properly for you. There's no point doing it if you don't follow the rest of the steps, and, you know, so you can go in here and, set your due date for whatever it is. Tomorrow on a specific date, that'll pop up a calendar, and you can put in a specific date for that to be due. And let me go over here to this assigned thing, because this says unassigned. Assigned to a person. Okay, so yeah, it'll allow you to assign it to anybody that's in your loop. And that kind of thing, so very handy, comes in handy, and I suggest you guys use it if you don't already have something that you're using for management.
Can
That
you
makes
show,
sense?
can you show us that item into the other program and see
Uh-huh.
the value, just to see where it's at?
Sure, well, I'm looking up there, when I could actually be looking right here instead of breaking my neck. Yeah, so if you're in the traditional view, which looks like this, you scroll all the way down to tasks.
Mhm.
And if you don't have one there, go to load template. And then your list will pop up like this, and you can select multiple checklists at once, whatever you wanna do. Anyway, and then click add. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
And I feel like, I don't know how many people, we talk all the time about having this issue come up where we have multiple loops when you, are representing a buyer maybe, and you make an offer on a piece of property that's listed in MLS, and you create your own loop. Or maybe you started out and you just had like a buyer loop, like it was named like Joe Buyer. And so then you went in and created a loop, and you're not linking to the actual listing loop. I'm sure everybody's had that
I
issue.
always have a separate one. I don't know if that's.
And which is
Yeah.
fine, I mean, what I would typically do if you start out and you're working with a buyer, and let's say, because as of now, everybody's gotta have their recap and their buyer agency signed before they even show property, so they obviously don't know what property they're gonna make an offer on yet, so it's fine to create a loop for your buyer, for your recap and your buyer agency, and whatever else you wanna put in it, but when it comes time to make an offer on a specific property, it saves time and confusion if you can link your offer to the listing agent's loop. Because then you and the other agent aren't sharing documents in two different loops. Because that can be confusing, and then you're having to move documents from one loop to another, and it's a pain. So this is a quick little video on how to properly do that. Again, there's nothing wrong with having a loop before you make an offer. You're just gonna need to move those documents into your actual property loop once you make an offer, and then you can archive the old one. Does that make sense?
So they're completely secure, the other agent can't see any of your stuff.
And I think that's a big,
Yeah, because
A
I'm a
big
control
reason-
freak,
Yeah.
and that's the reason why I won't do it.
yes, a lot of agents think that, well, oh, if I join, David Swiger's listing loop, he's gonna see all the documents that I have in my loop. It's not true. They can only see documents that you have shared with them. And vice versa, when you go into another listing agent's file, you're only gonna be able to see the documents that that agent has shared with you.
What if you've shared one and then you go back and amend it, or,
Well, then you're still working in the same loop. It's gonna work better and to your advantage,
Yeah.
because you're not having to take it from their loop and move it into yours. And it just creates extra steps when you've got multiple loops.
yeah.
So we always do it if we can, but I know it doesn't always work. And you shouldn't have too much trouble finding those loops when you search for them. So let me just put this quick.
Hey loopers, let's talk about the best way to submit an offer to help the listing agent avoid duplicate loops in their account, and also help you avoid duplicate loops in your account. To start out, I already have a loop here for Betty Buyer, and that loop has her pre-approval letter and all of those preliminary documents that allow us to start making offers. To make my first offer with Betty, I am going to create a loop, and you want to create a loop for each offer that you're submitting. And then it asks us to name our loop, and we'll start typing in the property address that Betty is interested in. And we start typing in the address, and we see some suggestions that Dotl0op has here. And as the agent making the offer, you want to click on the suggestion that says Dotl0op. That's your first choice. That means that that agent has logged onto Dotl0op and created a listing loop that is searchable for us to link to. And that means that if I submit an offer to this agent, it will not create a duplicate loop. It will create a folder within their listing loop. And then when they send documents back to you, it will not create a duplicate loop. You'll be able to work just within this one offer loop that you have for Betty. So with Dotl0op being your first choice, if you don't see the source Dotl0op here, then your second choice would be to use an MLS listing. That means that Dotl0op has a relationship with the MLS, and that information is coming over, and you can create a loop and have all of that autofill. The same thing happens with the source of Dotl0op. It just links directly to that agent's loop. So that would be your second choice, and it would say here the MLS that you are referring to instead of Dotl0op. Now that's your second choice. Your third choice, if you do not see the source of Dotl0op or your MLS, would be to use the Google Maps suggestion. And that is also going to autofill the address, but that would be about it. It wouldn't autofill any other information from the listing agent or from the MLS. Let's go ahead and use this Dotl0op listing here. And we'll click continue. If our office offers loop templates, we could select that now. Upload a photo if we want to, and go ahead and click finish. Once our loop's been created, we can go ahead and view our loop. And we're all set to scroll down to our people section and add Betty. Make sure we mark ourselves as the buying agent. Listing agent is already here in the loop with us. and then we can come right up to our document section and add an offer to start filling out. So the main takeaway from creating a loop as a buying agent to help avoid duplicate loops in your account and in the listing agent's account would be, when you're creating your loop, to look for the .loop source first. If you don't see that, then search for the MLS source. And then last but not least, if you don't see either of those, to utilize that Google Map suggestion. Out of those 3 suggestions, the only way to avoid the scenario would be to utilize the .loop source. But if you see those other 2 sources, it will still help you autofill documents faster and get that offer submitted faster.
Does that all make sense? And that also helps you, because you didn't really mention, but if the other agent has gone in and filled in, you know, the legal description, those kind of things, you join their loop, it's gonna keep you from having to go in and do that, on your own.
No, but then what do? You take your buyer's loop with all your buyers, agency agreement, and
Just copy them to your new loop.
like download them and.
No, you don't have to do that, you can actually copy. So like if, let me just show you real quick. So let's say this is a loop for, let me actually go to my test loop, I don't wanna screw something up for beta. So let's say, this was a loop that you had done with Betty Buyer before she made an offer. You've got your recap, your signed buyer agency, whatever else, and you wanted to copy that into a different loop that you had made an offer on. You just select the documents, and in this case, I'm gonna select the whole folder because I want both of these documents to go into the new loop. And then you will click on make a copy. Oops. And it gives you 2 choices. You can copy it as a .loop document or copy it as a flat PDF. I'm just gonna keep it here, keep it as a .loop. And then you can either copy it to templates, which I don't ever do, or you can copy them into a specific loop. And if you click on the loop, what's going on here? My mouse. I don't know why it's doing it. Anyway, if you click on that, it's going to open up a window and allow you to search for the loop that you want the documents to, and they will automatically land in that loop in a new folder. So,
And since that's like your buyer's folder, the other agent doesn't have access to that.
only has
So
access to documents that
Right.
you've shared. If
Okay.
you never share those documents with the other agent, they will not be able to see
Okay.
them. So,
Once you copy that, do you go back and just archive that?
I would go in to keep my homepage clean and not have to look at that. I would go in and change the status, to archive, once I've taken everything out that I needed. Of course, you can always get back to it if you need to, then you just have to search for archive loops, but it's not a big deal, because I know you all know that you cannot delete anything in .loop, you can only archive it, so.
Can you just show me, I'm sorry. I
You're
lost-
fine, no, this.
Can you show me when you go back, how to find, how you link to the agent's thing?
Oh, you mean,
Like if I wanted to go into one of yours,
yeah. Well, why don't you give me,
I'm really not a
do you
dummy,
have a
but-
listing that I can search for, because it won't really work on my end?
Yeah, so you want my MLS?
Yeah, so if I just hit add new loop, yeah, you can give me your MLS.
354236.
Okay, so a couple things popped up, and is it this
Yeah.
property? So this is the very best scenario because it actually says listed by Shelly Arant, 325, and it's an actual .loop. It's got the MLS number. So we would click on that, and we would hit continue.
It didn't pick it up.
I don't think it clicked on
It did not.
No, see, I was over here practicing by myself, trying to
did
make
it?
it happen, and
Sorry.
I couldn't do it, that's why I'm asking. I was
Okay,
asking.
let me try it again.
I'm like, I must be a dummy.
That number again.
354236.
Okay.
There you go.
there.
There we go.
Okay,
And then you can continue. And so here we are, this is your loop. I'm in your loop now, but I'm like, you can't see, you don't know that I'm in your loop, because I haven't submitted anything to you yet. And that's the thing, nobody will know that you've accessed their loop until the point in time of when you share a document with them.
Okay.
And I'm seeing that it's the best to use the MLS number, Because if you use the address, there could be, if the property's been bought and sold half a dozen times in the last 10 years, it would,
And
a bunch of them
also,
would show up.
sometimes with condos, with them all having the same street address, that can get a little hairy. Maybe
Yeah.
the listing agent didn't put the unit number in or something weird. The MLS number to me is the best way to find the loop and know that you've got the right property. Especially if you see that listing agent's name on it, and you know that you're in the right place. So, does that make sense?
Go back to your pending page, like, they're showing how you've got yours set up.
Oh, okay. And one thing I need to mention, I'm in the old version now.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm using the 2.0 beta typically, and so, but the homepage, it basically looks the same. So is that what you wanted, Stephen?
Yeah, I mean, just the
a
way,
different view, right?
Okay, so that
yeah, with the
is,
MLS numbers.
that's all the
each
function
them.
of how you want it to look. I do not personally like this view because it's super
Right.
busy and you have to scroll, and it's just a lot. So there's over here, if you toggle on this little, you've got 3 different options.
Yeah, the list view, yeah,
This is the list view, which still to me is a little,
right.
I prefer the compact view. So I keep mine set on this because it's just a lot less scrolling and it's easier for me to see.
Right.
But you can do it however you want. There's also, while we're here, let me just show you a couple things that you may or may not know. Sorting, if you can change the way that your loop displays are sorted by when they were created, when they were last updated. I usually keep mine sorted by closing date. Then you can sort them in ascending or descending order. I usually keep my, like, our next closing is this one, and that's today. That's how I keep mine sorted, because I like to be able to work my way down. So yeah. Let me go back to the PowerPoint. Okay, so just a couple of helpful hints, and then we'll kind of see what questions or problems or anything else that you guys have. And I'm going to give you guys a handout, and I think I've pretty much given everybody these over the years, but when you create a new loop, and these are things that will help me, Ashley, Renee, when we are looking at your loops and trying to find your loops, because it makes it hard, especially if you're naming your loops by someone's name only, no property address, no MLS. It makes our job harder to find them. So we always ask that, when you're naming your loops, and you can change the name of a loop at any time and amend it, whatever you want to do. But if it's a single family, put the property address, city, state, zip, and your MLS number at the end. That way we can search for a loop really easily by sticking the MLS number in. If it's a condo, sometimes I'll maybe not include the street address and maybe just put the complex and the unit number. Either way, you can do it. You can add in the street address if you want, but always try to include the MLS number if there is one, to make it easier for us to search. Also, when you create your new loops, don't forget when you first create them to select your transaction type and your status. So if you're making an offer for a buyer and you create your loop, your transaction type is going to be purchase, and your status until you're ratified is just going to be pre-offer. I always keep mine at pre-offer until it goes pending, and then I'll change it to under contract. So, and it also will help you search for your loops when you have certain filters turned on, so if you know what status that you've got them set. And I know I've harped on this over the years, when you first create that loop, go into the edit details section and fill in as much of the information as you can, like your legal description, your property address, whatever else, so that those things will populate on your templates. Because if you go in and you don't edit your details, you don't add your legal description or your PPIN number, whatever it is, and you go in and open your templates first, well, they're not going to populate for you because there's nothing for them to pull from. So that will save you time later so that you're not constantly typing in the same thing every time on a template. We already talked about this. Just a very quick overview on the 2.0 version for the, who's solely using the 2.0 version now?
I'm going
The
to.
original.
This is
I went
It is.
back, just.
It's different, but it's,
You're
a
talking
lot
about
of
the
it's,
beta?
yes.
Well, that, okay, no.
Yes, it's,
I'm using the original.
2.0.
Yeah.
it's okay, like I said,
Well, I don't know when it-
they're both available.
How many versions are there?
I don't know at what point they're gonna completely switch it over, but like I said, if you can go ahead and get in the habit of, and you can toggle back and forth, once you switch over, you don't have to stay there, you can go back. I find that some things work better in the old version than the new version, and it's taken some getting used to, but I do prefer it. One of the main things I like about it is the fact that you can upload documents in there that are not PDFs now. You can put in a Word document, you can put in an Excel document, and it will convert it to a PDF for you once you upload it. That is a big
What about
plus.
JPEGs?
Yes, you can put JPEG in. So that's a big plus. Now, when you go in and you open a document in the 2.0 version, you'll notice, and you go to edit it, it looks the same as the old version. They have not changed how you go in and edit a document, like, text boxes, dragging and dropping, all that. That's still the same. It's the overall look of it is different on your homepage, or not your homepage, but your, when you open the loop, it looks different. Also, there is now signature routing, which is, for those of you that remember, we used to use DocuSign years ago. You could route documents and order them. So, like, let's say you make an offer, you're making an offer for a buyer, and you write your contract, and you get ready to share it with the buyers to sign. You can set them up to sign, and then you can set up a secondary step so that once they've signed it, as long as you don't want to go in and look at it, it will share automatically with the listing agent and whoever else you want. So that's one thing that the old version does not do. So I do like that. So we're just gonna do. I'll show you.
The old version, you just send it out to everybody
You send
to
it
sign
out.
at the same time.
Yeah, you would have to create another step once you got the documents back and share it again with the listing agent or whoever. So
That's what I'm doing.
yeah, so you can So like I mentioned, what's different? You can upload the additional file types. What's the same? The document editing, that did not change. So this is just kind of a little demo on how the sharing of documents looks now. So you go to your loop page, you'll select any of your loops, and you'll open it up. So, and one thing I do want to mention, and I'll go over it again later, but it's very helpful to us if you have multiple folders within your loops. So let's say you have a new listing. You put all your listing paperwork in a folder within Dotl0op. Anything extra like surveys, elevation certificates, deeds, whatever else, create a second folder for that and name it like miscellaneous docs or something. This helps when you submit documents. Ashley's not looking at 50 documents that she may or may not need to see. You can submit just the listing doc folder. She's got just the documents that she needs to see. She can approve them quickly instead of having to, go through all those extra documents.
Would you send that to Cass, send her an email?
Yeah.
We'll have 50 things, and she's got it all put together, and I'll
Yeah.
mine are all separate,
Yeah, and
It's just so many
I hate
documents.
to, my loops, I try to keep them organized, and then once we get an offer on that listing, I've got a separate folder where I put the offer within the loop and all of those documents. That way, because when you submit, you're submitting folders. Well, if you've got everything in one folder and you submit it for review,
Where would
That
you
takes forever.
put LLC docs? Would you create a separate one or put it
I
in
put them
miscellaneous?
usually miscellaneous. That's up to you. You can, the more folders, the better. But
And if
because
we
that just keeps
change
us.
the price 4 times, you still want us to keep the old listing agreement changes within that same thing, or do we dump it in a different file?
As
Where
long
It's
as
the
you,
most latest one,
if you
recent.
include a note when you submit about what you're submitting, hey, this is versus a price change to 485 or whatever, then we know what document
Yeah.
to look at, and we don't have to go back in and look at the rest of the documents. But if you want to create an individual folder every time you do a price change, hey, even better.
You can see archive though, right? Admin can see archive.
If we search for them, yes.
Right.
Yes. And that's another thing. If you've got a purchase offer and there were 3 or 4 versions of the purchase agreement that ended up being circulated out, archive the ones that are not relevant. Because it just keeps everything clean, and then everybody's not looking at all that stuff, and it doesn't get confusing. And name your documents. Name the folder, name the documents if you can. That makes it easier too. You know, Kevin gets calls every day. Can you go in and look at this contract? I'm having this issue, whatever. He goes in the loop, and there's like 18 contracts in there and 18 addendums, and like, some of these are just not relevant. They're old versions, and whatever. Just archive them. We can always get back to them if we need to, but just keep them clean.
How do you say, I'm in this meeting, so I just noticed I didn't submit my price reduction, and I'm clicking on the thing, and I only see the share button. We don't have submit for review anymore?
You do.
You have to click the folder.
Yeah, you have to select the folder, and then you'll see a, you should see an option for it.
Oh, I see it, okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
So we're getting back to the sharing documents in the new version. So you're in your loop, you have to select the documents that you want to share. Obviously, that hasn't really changed. You can select the entire folder, or you can select certain documents within that folder. And then you're going to click the share button at the top. And I know this is a little hard to read, but you're going to get this box. It's going to say order your document. And you can, with these little squares, these little 6 little dots, you can drag those up and down. So if you wanted to reorder those after you'd opened it, you can do that. If you forgot to add a document or something, you can click on the add documents, and it'll take you to another screen. And then, you know, in the old version, you have an option to attach as a PDF as well. You can still do that here. You just have to check the box attached to the packet email.
Wait, what does, I always click that. I thought I had to share that. What
No.
does that do?
That's only if, like, I only use that if I just want somebody to have a copy of it, but they don't need to sign it. That's probably what your problem is, Christine, is they're trying to open that PDF, and that's not a live document. I only use the attach as a PDF when something's already been executed. Maybe I'm sending a copy to the title company or a lender or another agent that I don't want to have edit capabilities. So if you're checking that every time you send a loop for signature, that's going to create confusion. So don't do that. So then the next screen that comes up is, it's going to ask you to set a signing order. You can select that box, or you can leave it unchecked. I believe that it defaults to checked when you open it up. So what happens then is, in this scenario, if you leave it unchecked, Linda and Larry are going to get the document at the same time, just like it normally happens in Dotl0op in the old version. They're going to get it at the same time. They're each going to get an email. They're going to each sign it, whatever, and then it's going to come back to you. And then you have to select either needs to sign, or you can do view only, just like in the old version. You can select that there. If you forgot to add a participant, you can also add it here from the screen instead of having to go all the way back and start over.
Is there a way that, so that set signing order is not the default? Because mine is always checked. There's no way to get rid of that as the default.
I don't think so. I always just go in and uncheck it. In the next scenario, if you do have it checked, then you can set an order for those documents. So in this scenario, Linda's going to get the email first. She's in the number 1 spot. She's going to have to sign the document before it goes to Larry. So he won't even get it until she's already signed it.
I don't see the
I
advantage
do
of
not-
that, yeah.
Yeah, I don't use that scenario if I'm sending out to 2 buyers or 2 sellers or whatever. If it's the same party,
Right.
don't do that. You can always go in and uncheck that document, and then it'll just put them in the same, same routing order. You can, what was I saying here? Oh, if you needed to reorder them and put Larry first for whatever reason, you just click on the little dots and drag that up to the top. I only use this if, like I mentioned earlier, I'd send it to Linda and Larry in step 1. So they both sign the document. Let's say I wanted it to automatically be sent to the listing agent. As soon as they signed, I could put the listing agent in spot number 2, and it'll just automatically send it to them. Instead of you having to go back into Dotl0op once you know it's been signed and having to share it again. It's just an extra step. Again, you could add an additional participant if you needed to, if you've forgotten to add somebody in or whatever. Another option at the bottom is to give edit access. So this is what you would do. Let's say you got an offer signed by your buyers, you wanted to send it to the listing agent, but you wanted him to actually have editing capabilities. Instead of the view only status, you would check that, and that gives them full permissions to a real estate professional while they finalize documents in private and return the completed documents to you. So just know that that's there.
If you're giving another agent on the other side edit access, wouldn't you be worried about,
If they know what
in
they're
a
doing,
purchase agreement though, the terms you put?
well,
Can they
it's
change?
just gonna wipe out all the signatures.
Oh,
If
okay,
they
yeah,
screw
that's
it
right,
up.
it'll wipe out.
They can't make the changes without having to go back and get
Okay,
signatures.
okay.
But the way our purchase agreement's set up, if you submit an offer and you give an agent editing capabilities, they should be able to go into the seller's section and make
Okay,
any changes they need without wiping out your buyer's signatures.
Okay, okay.
And hopefully, like
Rather
I
than
said,
getting it
if you
handed
don't,
down.
and if you don't trust the agent to get it right, then send it view only. And then they have to go in and drag and drop, so. And this is just an overview of the permissions on the drop downs. These really are no different. Can view just means that you're basically gonna send them a PDF copy of it that they've gotta go in and drag and drop signatures or whatever. Needs to sign, that's the way you're gonna use for buyers and sellers. You're gonna give them that permission and it's gonna default to that generally. If they've got signature fields assigned, it should. Needs to fill and sign. Honestly, I don't use this status. Needs to confirm readiness for next recipients. Again, I typically stick with the first and second option, but you can do whatever. But this is kind of neat. I've never really used it before, but like if, let's say Kira wrote an offer, she could share it with me before she sent it to the buyers so that I could confirm readiness and make sure it says ideal for you or your team members. Haven't used that, but it is an option now.
I just text you. Can
I
you
know,
look?
just- yeah. But anyway. And that's another thing too, those of you that are on teams, and you add your teammates in to the loop where they can see everything, you can now, you used to not be able to share documents with your teammates, but now you can. So if you did that, Andrew could copy you on that and add you into that routing so that you get a copy too. So
That's good.
that's a new thing.
That's in the 2.0, right?
Yes. Let's see, where are we? At the top, and this is the next screen that you get. This is all prior to the documents being sent out. So you'll get this little box here. You can name your packet. So it defaults to however you have the folder named. So if you wanted to change that and say, offer on 123 Main Street, you could do that there in that top box. If you wanted to click on and add a private message, hey, Mr. Buyer, please sign this. If you have any questions, give me a call, whatever you want. You do that, and then the email that they get from you is going to have your your picture and signature. If you've gone into the My Account settings and set all that up, it'll all be included at the bottom. Another thing that I'm not loving about the new Dotl0op, and maybe it's just because I'm not used to how it works yet, is something called withdrawing a packet. And a packet is what they call now, like when you send out documents. And once they're sent out, they call that a packet. So let's say you send out an offer, your buyer calls you back and says, oh, I wanted to do $5,000 in earnest money, not $10,000. And you needed to change the purchase agreement before they signed it. The process for that is a little bit different than it used to be. You used to be able to just go into the document, make the changes and reshare it. Well, now you have to do kind of an extra step. So this is a quick little video on that.
And see what it looks like.
So a packet could be as small as one document?
It could be, yes.
If you need to make changes to a document that you've already sent, you will need to withdraw that document or that packet of documents in order to make your change, and then you can resend it. You can do this two different ways. First, let's open up a document that's currently in a signature route and see what it looks like. So if I open up this contract of purchase that's currently in a route with this addendum, I will have a message at the top letting me know that one or more documents have signature routing in progress. Meanwhile, documents cannot be edited or reshared. If I needed to make a change to this document, I can withdraw this packet from the route. So even though I'm just clicking withdraw while I have the contract of purchase to open, any other documents that were in this route will also be withdrawn. And when you click on withdraw, you will give a reason, and that reason will be sent via email to anyone who has already received an email to view, sign, modify the document. And maybe you just want to let them know about the edits that you're making, the reason for withdrawal. And then once we click on withdraw, that email will be sent, and we can edit any of those documents that were in the packet. Now, another way to go about this, if we're not doing this from the document, is to go to our sent section of our documents and see all of our packets listed out that have been sent, that have been completed. And here's the packet I'm currently working with, the offer documents packet. If I go over to the right, there will be an overflow icon. And I'm only seeing this for packets that are in progress, so I don't see it for any of my others. And here I have the option to add or edit packet recipients, so I could add extra people to this route if I forgot them. Or what we want to focus on right now is to withdraw the packet. There's a lot of great information in this window if this is your first time using this feature. Here's the name of the packet, 2 documents that were originally shared on December 27th. And when we withdraw this packet, Dotl0op will send a notification email to recipients who have already received the packet. So if I have a person in step 1 and then another person in step 2, if the person in step 1 has not completed their action, maybe it's just them signing, they will be the only person to receive the withdraw email because they are the only person who have received an email at all about this packet. And once we withdraw these documents, it's going to prevent recipients from accessing the documents in this packet. If you've already had a phone call, it's probably not necessary for you to type a reason, but if you want something on record in writing as to why you are withdrawing these documents, we give you a space to do that. And we're also going to note that the reason will be seen by recipients in the notification. So we can type out a reason. Per conversation, I need to make some edits. That's simple, and and we click withdraw. We'll have a confirmation at the top that this packet has been withdrawn, and now we have the option to resend or edit. So if we sent these documents with the wrong permission to my two buyers, maybe I sent them with can view, but they actually need can sign, I'm just gonna click on resend right now and start that sharing process over again with the action I need my buyers to have. But if I need to make changes to these documents, I have an edit button right here to open those documents and start editing. Then I can click share here, go back to my packet screen, wherever I want to click share to get these updated documents to my clients. And the last thing I want to make sure I mention, all of this is also going to be tracked in the activity log. We unshared these two documents with Lenny and Riley. Those are my two buyers. They were both in the same step, so they both got the email about the withdrawal instead of just one of them. We can see the reason for withdrawing, and then I took a look at those documents. It would obviously log if I edited those and shared them again, but that is all tracked right here.
So yeah, that's a kind of a big difference from the old version. And again, we've had to do it a couple times, and it's not quite as user friendly as it could be, but it's just a couple of extra steps that you have to take, so.
So that's not in the old version at all?
No, in the old version, if you send documents to someone and they call you and say, oh, I need you to make a change, or for whatever reason, you would just have to you could just open the documents back up and edit them, then you would just reshare them once they've been changed, so. But I highly encourage you guys to get familiar with this version because, I mean, at some point, Dotl0op's gonna switch over to this completely and get rid of the old version, so you'll be ahead of the game if you know what you're doing, so. Getting close to the end. Now this is probably a lot, and most of you probably could care less, but there are hot keys in Dotl0op, and I'll send this all out to you guys. Shortcuts for doing things when you're in documents. Just for example, if you want to add a checkbox on a PC, just click Alt+C and it'll add a checkbox to your document. But again, this is kind of advanced stuff, and most of you probably won't use it, but I did want you to know that it's out there, and I'll send these shortcuts out for Mac and for PC. This is pretty much the last bit that I had. Submitting for review, just a few pointers on this. We've talked about this already, but include all the documents that you want to be reviewed in one distinct folder within the loop. Name your folder according to the type of documents that are included, listing file, pending file, closing documents, etc. Be sure to include the following items in your pending files: your offer/contract submittal sheet. I see Renee sending out emails almost daily because people forget to add this form in, and that's where we get a lot of our information from, so please do that. Name all your documents appropriately within your folder, that way we know what we're looking at before we even open it. After you click submit for review, you have to select either listing or buying the drop-down menu, and please include a brief note about what you're submitting. Here's a couple of examples, and I'm going to give you all a handout that's got some of these little tidbits for you to, so you don't have to remember it all now, but what should be submitted for review? New listings, obviously. Once you get them in MLS, and you have an MLS number, submit that listing loop for review. And that includes, throughout the process, any price changes, extensions, etc. Pending files, once you're ratified, we want you to submit that with your submittal sheet. And then anytime you have significant term changes like closing date modifications or price modifications and addendums, submit those too. Because I mean, we keep a log of everything. We keep a spreadsheet of upcoming closings, so we like to know if they get extended or pushed up or whatever, if price changes. That way we can keep all of our records to match yours. Escrow requests, obviously, we appreciate 48 hours in advance when you request earnest money. And then when you close, which is the best part, your closing docs and your commission check request, just make sure that you include that commission disbursement form when you submit your documents, so.
I wish you would change disbursement to check. Because I'm always like, what is it called?
I always have to figure out what they're called too. I always want to type in earnest money and
Yeah.
it's not labeled that.
Sorry, maybe Renee will do that. That's it for me. Anybody got any questions? Issues?
When did we have that? Was it last year sometimes when we had the first beta training?
Yeah, it was probably last. It was
And I
after-
tried to get on it,
right
but then I just kind of drifted back to the regular one. It was so much easier. I mean, trying to get out of your
I know,
box.
it's habit, getting out of your comfort zone. I mean, but again, use it if you can. And there's a ton, there's also webinars that you can sign up for on your own time for the 2.0 that'll help. They're live. They schedule them for every couple weeks, I think. So if you go to the help site, you can sign up for one of those. And
The
I'm all for
Dotl0op
doing
has tutorials, they have a tutorial section of videos that we can watch in our Dotl0op.
They do. Let me just show you a couple things real quick, and then I'll. Time's available. Let's see. So when you go to the support site on Dotl0op, this is the homepage. Agent FAQs, Dotl0op 2.0. This is where you can go to. You can watch little small snippets. Just looking for the training. Okay, the webinars. Here's the Dotl0op 2.0 for agents. It's 40 minutes. You just sign up for a time. I'm all for doing one here again if we have enough interest. We can play one here, or you can do it on your own time, whatever. But it'll help, and it'll be, small little videos like what we just have seen on the different aspects of that, so. But yeah, any question you have, you can pretty much find a video, a quick video. I mean, they're all like a minute or two long, so. Or let me know, I mean, I can help with most things if y'all are having issues, so. Anybody got any questions? Y'all are pros now. We'll
I'm
expect-
sure will in the
we'll
future as I
expect
get into it.
perfect loops from now on, and we'll tell Renee. This group, they're gonna be perfect.
This will make her job, at least for me, a lot easier.